Hello, viewership. Hello, Talking Fight fans around the world, in fact. Welcome to another episode of our Olympic special leading up to Tokyo Olympics. We've been watching some boxing from Bulgaria, both Christian and I this morning. I think you're taking notes, I'm not, but...
I'm always taking notes, Graham. And yeah, I know this is, again, we're going to be straight a little off the Olympics here, but with that new importance put on these internationals and what that's going to mean for international rankings and what that's going to mean for some athletes in their path to the Olympics, we definitely have been following the tournament going on in Sofia in Bulgaria at the moment pretty closely. So today was semifinal action. I know both of us were up at the crack of dawn with the TV on watching what was going on. So the afternoon session is over. The evening session is actually underway right now. It's been going on for about an hour right now. So I don't know about you, but I've got my TiVo running, and I'll be watching some of those a little later on this evening. For some of the fights that we did see today, there were some walk-offs, so we didn't necessarily get to see fights in every, the full picture in every category. We're going to have to actually wait for the medals to be handed out at that point. But one thing to keep in mind as it is semifinal action in the tournament structure here is that any name that you hear today minimally is walking away with a bronze medal. So winners from today are going to be headed into either guaranteed gold or silver position, and they'll be fighting for those. And anyone who did not qualify to go on to the finals tomorrow will be awarded a bronze medal from this tournament. So already great athletes. Anyone you hear today, even with the losses, are world-class athletes and put up just an absolute hell of a show today. So yeah, we started off this morning with some flyweight action, Russia and Bulgaria, and honestly, the first rounds of the afternoon session were, just nothing but 10-9 cards, 10-9, 10-9, 10-9, and that was in the lightweight. So that was the welterweight, the Kazakhstan. You had Valentin Ilzova won that one over the Bulgarian Yumalova, and that was in a unanimous decision. And like I said, everything on this card was just 10-9, 10-9, 10-9 right across the board. And it was almost like watching twins fight between this match. Just, you saw more shots landing on leather than you did actually on the body. And I think you can agree with me on this one. It wasn't necessarily that these were boring fights to watch. It's just there really wasn't a whole lot going on. It was just so evenly matched. But we did come away with a unanimous decision on that one. Moving along, though, Uzbekistan, the Kemedova versus Ukraine's Anna Lysenko. Now, Lysenko won this one on a split decision. It was a slow first round, but intensity really picked up on the second between these two. The Ukrainian was definitely hitting harder, but it just, at the end of the day, it was enough. The other, because we had our Uzbekistanian was just faster, but was not landing shots the same way, and just was not aggressive enough at the end of that match to pull off a win. And that's what, at the end of the day, took it away from her. My personal thought is it's going to be Lysenko, though, is going to take gold in this particular weight class over Umazova. I'm sorry. Again, you know me and my pronunciations are all over the map. But my guess is going to be Ukraine over Bulgaria in this weight class. And that's just because Lysenko was just, at the end of the day, just way more intense. The intensity, the aggression was just way better. And I think she's going to be hoping for a lot of points early out of the gate. And she's going to hope to tire her opponent out really quickly. Thoughts, feelings on those first couple of matches, Graham? I know you were watching as well.
Yeah. What surprised me the most, not necessarily the caliber of the boxing. The boxing itself is great, but the caliber of the broadcasting I thought was pretty shite. Both the broadcasting and the camera perspectives were like amateurship. I guess it is an amateur.
Good commentators. The commentators knew what they're doing. So, our blow-by-blow commentary that we're watching there was, yeah, I'll agree with you. That was well done. But as far as your camera angles, as far as the information that you, the viewer, are being presented with while watching this broadcast, yeah, left a lot to be desired. Under a professional situation, you would see more you'd see names up longer. You would see stats. You would see scorecards at the end of the round. How did this turn out? We aren't seeing that. That is true. And for Europe's oldest boxing tournament, it is a little disappointing that they weren't able to kind of get together, because regardless of whether or not they were going to have crowds at the end of the day, they were going to be televising this.
And with the actual production, very fast paced. I mean, they were wiping down those ropes and getting the next boxing pair in there just like that.
Oh, yeah, just within 30 seconds, yeah.
Because it was live, it wasn't taped, and so it was not like anyone in there edited. So anyway, from a production perspective, these guys have it together with respect to leading the boxers out, putting them in the ring, having that fight finish, wiping down the ring, bringing in the next pair. It's pretty fast in terms of like entertainment. It was good, well done. But like I said,
not a lot of downtime for sure. Not a lot of downtime. Right.
So, but I say, the one thing that disappointed me was I would have thought they would have had their game, given it's an online audience.
Well, given that regardless of the pandemic, they were still going to have to televise this, and they were still going to be putting it online. This shouldn't be a we needed to scramble kind of thing. This should have been well thought out, well in advance.
Well, I'm just saying, I'm sure they would have televised it years ago. So I'm pretty sure those very same television crews would have been available, and the same amount of graphics that we have here they have there. It just caught me off guard. It's almost like someone sitting there with their iPhone almost. Anyway.
One of the big ones, though. One of the big fights, though, today, regardless of how it was filmed, would have been the men's flyweight. One of the big semis that we had there was between India's Deepak Kumar.
Oh, I saw that. Yeah, I saw that.
And Uzbekistan's Zorev.
Who was the world champ?
Was the gold medalist from Rio? Exactly. Yeah. So there were some strong thoughts that he was just going to kind of walk away on this one. But Deepak Kumar has been kind of a big story. If you Google Strandia right now and just hit the word news prior to the tournament, prior to what's happening today, 7 out of 10 stories that you're going to find will be about Deepak Kumar.
So it's interesting. Remember how we were mentioning who's had their qualifiers? So it occurred to me that Russia may in fact be, are they European? I'm not sure. But they're definitely Asian. So anyway, so from across the board, you had Indians, Russians, a whack of former
Soviet republics, yeah.
Right. And what I saw, traditional Western European, very few traditional. But then I heard that comment about the big event happening next week in Spain. And I'm going, wow, there's a lot of action going on, drawing lots of participants from spanning India, the subcontinent, Russia, and take Russia all the way eastbound, all the way to Kamchatka. And I thought, wow, there's a lot of action going on over there right now.
Yeah, the Russians will be fighting in the European tournament. I just had to double check that before I bounced in there. I was just taking a look at the Asia Oceania tournament that has already taken place, and just taking a look at some of the results from that. And we see no Russians fought in that tournament. So the Russians look like they're going to be lumped in with the European tournament.
Oh.
Because I can't imagine that absolutely no Russian qualified for the Olympics. So yeah, they'll be yeah, exactly. They'll be part of the European tournament.
So anyway, my takeaway.
But looking at that, sorry, go ahead. Your takeaway.
I was just the quality of the boxers from around the world, in the sense of that wherever they were from, wow, the diversity was blowing me away. The quality of the boxing, second to none, is up there. And that Dumar, the Indian chap, wow, gave it his all to a world champion and beat him. So anyway, Deepak
took the first 2 rounds on that one. Zorov he ramped everything up in the third, but it just wasn't enough to catch up. He had been too slow, and he had his bell rung just too many times in the middle. At one point it did look like he got staggered pretty good in the second at one point, but it wasn't until the third he tried to mount some kind of comeback on this one, but it just wasn't happening.
No, all good. So what else did you see? Did you see any ends after that?
Oh yeah, well then after that we had
because they had the welterweights.
Well, yeah, they were still in the flyweight category before they got up into the middleweights. I don't think we did welter weight. It was only the women's welter that's gone through so far.
Okay.
I think the men's welter is part of this afternoon's.
Oh, okay. Because I know there's a walkover. I missed a couple, came back. Anyway,
Yeah.
so.
Well, we also we actually saw a fight get stopped today. Ilya Popov beat his Armenian counterpart in the first round with a surprise left, and that was about halfway into the first round.
Yeah, I saw that as well. Yeah. So even at the Olympic level, we're seeing knockouts. So not a bad thing.
Well, yeah, and then the middleweights. Right after that, we saw middleweights. We saw in one fight, we saw 2 standing 8s.
Yep.
And then the fight eventually stopped in the third, and that was Kizhniak won that one. Alexander Kizhniak out of Ukraine against the Moldovan Andrei Vreme, and that was supposed to be a pretty heavy hitting fight, and people were looking forward to this one. But again, Kizhniak just in the second round put Vreme through not one but 2 different standing 8s, and I kind of agree with the announcers on this one that it could have and maybe should have been stopped in the second, but how do you stop Vreme when he's still throwing punches?
Right.
And even into the third, when they finally did stop it, to Vreme's credit, I mean, he wasn't defending, and that's why it had to be stopped. He was offering no defense. But it went on as long as it did, because even though he couldn't defend himself, he was still attacking. He was still throwing punches while just eating uppercuts one after another. Like there was just a steady diet of uppercuts at that point. So I mean, it was stopped later than it could have been, but it's hard to do that. If you're in the ring, you are the referee, and you see this guy still is putting up a fight. How do you stop that? It's easy to armchair quarterback as always, but that one I was a little surprised by.
So good entertainment, good boxing going on right now over there in Bulgaria for free, available on the Olympic channel. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, but I mean, from that morning session until we got all the way up to the middleweights there and that Kizhniak Vreme fight, pretty much I think every card prior to that, and I think out of the fights that it had, 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 or 7 fights that had gone on before that part in the day, every single one of them had been scored 10-9 across the board. It wasn't until that middleweight fight where Vreme had to have the fight stopped for him that we actually saw the first 10-8 of the day. So we've been seeing some really, really evenly matched fights going forward here.
Yep. Will it change the rankings?
I haven't heard of any major upsets at this point that are people, oh my God, our minds are blown and this is going to catapult, so-and-so up into the... Is it helping rankings? Of course. I mean, again, anyone you hear about today, anyone we're talking about is already taking home a bronze medal from an international. Of course, that's going to help your rankings. Is it going to help as much as, a gold medal? No, of course not. But it definitely helps. Top 3 is still better than, not medaling at all. And you also have to keep in mind that there were 200 competitors at this tournament. So we had 200 people boxing for what's 13 gold medals at the end of the day. So medaling at all is still, it's no small feat, and it's still, you're still a world-class athlete at that point in time. And we, as we've seen with some of these fights going on here, some surprise stuff. Again, knockdown, standing 8s. We just saw in the very last fight I was just watching here before I had to pop off and to come on here with you. I was watching the second of the light welterweight for the women's division. Beatrice Ferreira beating Anune Astarian. Astarian, you might know, very recently beat Katie Harrington, who was Ireland's hope for this, and in a split decision that Harrington was visibly not happy with. If you happen to watch any of that footage, or if you go onto YouTube and watch yesterday's footage at all, you'll see and it was an interesting decision, we'll say. And I believe Harrington was suggesting that the judges have eye exams in slightly more colorful terms as she was leaving yesterday. She was not amused. But she went on. That was the fight I was just watching, her against the reigning world champion, Beatrice Ferreira, who's one of the only people fighting out of the Americas here in this tournament, fighting for Brazil, and is the reigning world champion. Beatrice Ferreira did win that on split decision. I mean, out of the opening of that fight, again, it was pretty just common. It was, they were just kind of feeling each other out. There wasn't a whole lot going on in the first little bit there. It was just a well-paced fight between two well-matched fighters. Astarion usually likes to keep her opponents kind of at arm's length and likes to play that outside game, whereas Ferreira does not and didn't give her an inch, and that really paid off at the end of the day as Ferreira went on with that split decision to move on for a gold medal try on this one. It'll be interesting. This category in particular, because she's going to be going against Mira Potkin, out of Finland, who won her bout today against her Kazakh opponent Ibrahimov. Sorry, no, I wrote this down here somewhere. Ibrahimov. Sorry, out of Kazakhstan. Now this is going for Potkin here. Didn't start boxing until she was 28. She's actually right at the cutoff right now this round, as she is boxing at the age of 40. So she was 27 or 28 and a mother of two when she decided to take up boxing, and is now, obviously a well-experienced fighter at this point in time. But at 40 years of age, as we know, that is the cutoff for international. So this will be one of the last times we get to see her, and she is already too old to compete at the Olympic Games. But I think she's going to leave it all in the ring for that particular one. That's going to be a good one. You may also remember that name because we're talking about the Irish losing today, apparently. She was the one who beat Katie Taylor in Rio.
Huh.
Yeah, so the women's welterweight gold tomorrow is going to be that's going to be a one to keep an eye on for sure, between Ferreira and Putkinen. And we had, sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, we were going to plan to do an episode tomorrow as a recap of these gold. When do you think they'll be over?
Oh, I'll have to take a look at what the schedule is. Obviously, today's fights are running longer because we've got 26 fights versus 13 fights tomorrow. So,
right. So I'm just curious if they're morning, like our morning, their afternoon type thing.
I have a feeling it'll probably, because it's gold medal is 13. If they're doing, I actually don't have this schedule in front of me for tomorrow's fights. If they're doing it again as a morning and afternoon session, or if they're going to be doing just a straight afternoon session. Timing wise, it'll be the same as today, I have to imagine. So if it's only an evening session, it'll be starting 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and what was it, about 6:45, 7 a.m. this morning? Their afternoon session started in Bulgaria. So I'll have to look that up, and I'll let you know. But yeah, whatever time that finishes, let's you and I find an excuse to connect tomorrow just to have a quick look. Because we saw some great fights today. We saw a couple of people who looked more like they're having two guys fighting in a phone booth at one point. Which one was that? Which fight was that? That would have been the that was Russia's Pavel Sasukin versus Kazakhstan's Reyes. Now that went to the Russians on that one, but again, at one point in the second round, again, it looked like two guys fighting in a phone booth. It almost looked like more like a hockey fight than an actual boxing. And they must have been like right here, just trying to find a way to punch each other in the face from this far away. It was interesting. It looked a lot more, that particular fight looked a lot more like a traditional boxing match, a little bit more measured and understanding. Once we got into the third round, they actually backed up a little and threw a few more shots at each other. But again, that particular one went to the Russian. And then we saw, we saw some other really weird stuff today too, where guys tried very quickly to win the heavyweights. The first of the heavyweight bouts today with Narek Manassian out of Armenia winning a split decision against, I believe, the only Georgian fighting at this stage of the game, Yondanin. Now, these guys, Yodanin especially, was exhausted by the end of the first round. And just absolutely, the pair of them were just dead on their feet by the end of the second. No kidding. I mean, the Yodanin's condition, and again, I'm mispronouncing this. Yodanian, his conditioning just was not up to scratch for this fight at all. And Manassian basically, in my opinion, just took this on a flurry of body shots because they were coming in, and these are big guys. the pair of them, and they were just trading body shots at that point, and Manassian just took more of them at the end of the day. This is going to be a hard one to call, though, because the second bout that happened between Wilfred Fontaine and Bulgaria's Radislav Pantelev, who did win that. Pantelev won that one on a unanimous decision. At the end of the day, Pantelev's faster, a lot faster, in my opinion, than Manassian. But Manassian hits like a dump truck, whereas Pantelev was scoring a lot of quick blows. And I mean, he's not hitting like a pixie or anything like that. You know, he's not out to tickle here, but he's not hitting with the same power as Manassian. And that's where if it is a short fight, I think this is going to go to Manassian, as short as these fights ever are. You know, if it gets stopped, it'll get stopped because of Manassian. If it goes the full 3 rounds, though, I think that Pantelev has a very good chance of taking this on points, because I think his conditioning's better and he's going to be able to outlast Manassian. I think he's going to be able to dance circles around him.
Cool. Good breakdown.
So we've got some stuff to look out for tomorrow. And I said, for anyone who's not watching it currently, because for some reason they're watching me instead, I suggest that you check out the Olympic channel right now, because they are streaming the last half of the afternoon or the evening session from Bulgaria right now. And still plenty more, at least an hour or two more of boxing to come out of Bulgaria. And then tomorrow, like I said, the gold medal sessions.
Excellent. So for all the fans out there, this is a good opportunity to catch up on some pre-Olympic boxing. Not qualifying, but a good tournament nonetheless. So there you go. Did you have anything else for us before we?
Well, fortunately, in Olympic news, there have been no major changes, rule changes, venue changes, personnel changes, or horrifying new developments to the COVID-19 pandemic, or the precautions or reactions that we're taking for that. So that being said, no, for fingers crossed, no, I have nothing more for today.
Thank you. Okay, great. Well, thanks very much for that wrap up of the Stanya tournament over in Bulgaria. As I said earlier, it's leading up to the Tokyo Olympics in July. I forwarded you some information on what the heck.
Well, we were going to talk about that a little later on, because that wasn't necessarily time sensitive, but it was in the good news category. So I suppose we should mention that they have officially announced the when the torch relay will be beginning for the Tokyo Olympics, and they will be doing everything they can. Obviously, as you're handing that thing torched off between physical people, they'll be doing everything they can as far as COVID-19 precautions and sanitizing and testing for the runners and everything like that. But in a very positive note, that things are in fact moving forward and in some sense of normalcy for the games. The relay is set to begin on the 25th of March.
Correct. Alrighty, on that note, thank you very much again. And thanks very much for our listenership, for liking, sharing, and subscribing. And remember, if you are subscribing, to ring that bell, get our notifications. We might join you for a special episode tomorrow. But if not, we're definitely back on Monday. And prior to that, be on the Friday night panel this evening.
You just can't get rid of me.
So much fun. All right. Thank you very much.
We'll see you tonight.
Cheers.